In the last video, we explored why Chinese households save so much and how this behavior, while beneficial for individuals, can create big challenges for China's economy. In this video, let's dive deeper into why high savings rate isn't necessarily good for the country, what China is doing about it, and why it's proving so hard to turn China into a nation of spenders. For a start, China's high savings rate directly contributes to its low domestic consumption. And that's a problem. When people don't spend, domestic demand stays weak. This creates a structural imbalance that affects both China's internal economy and its global relationships. Domestically, low consumption limits China's ability to rely on its own population to sustain economic growth. Instead, it leans heavily on exports and foreign investment, things that are a lot more unpredictable and vulnerable to foreign actions or changes in the global economy. And that's especially risky now, when trade protectionism is on the rise around the world. Externally, the consumption gap fuels trade tensions. Chinese manufacturers are known for producing huge volumes of goods efficiently and cheaply. And while these products used to have a reputation for being cheap and low quality, that image has changed. Today, many Chinese exports are just as good, if not better, than similarly priced products from other countries. But since domestic demand is limited, those goods flood into global markets, often undercutting local industries. That can mean factory closures and job losses in other countries, which understandably frustrates China's trading partners. The US, the EU, and several Southeast Asian nations have all voiced concerns about the impact of cheap Chinese goods on their own economies. Recognizing the risks, China has launched ambitious efforts to pivot toward a consumption-led economy. For example, in March 2025, the Chinese government rolled out the 30-point Special Action Plan to boost consumption. This marked a big shift. For the first time, the government explicitly tied consumer spending not just to GDP growth, but to improving people's quality of life. The plan includes financial incentives, social welfare improvements, market reforms, and long-term strategies to boost household income and confidence. One of the key pillars of this strategy is income and employment support. The government aims to promote steady wage growth and expand income sources through employment assistance and wage policy reform. It also includes legal reforms to help rural residents generate income by unlocking the value of their properties through rentals or cooperative models. In 2025 alone, 66 billion yuan, or around $9.3 billion, was allocated for employment subsidies, startups, and training. To directly stimulate purchases, China has expanded consumer subsidies and trade-in programs. The budget for these programs doubled in 2025 to 300 billion yuan, around $41.6 billion. That includes subsidies of 15 to 20% off purchases like smartphones, home appliances, and even vehicles. The car trade-in program has been especially popular, offering up to 20,000 yuan, about $3,000, for people to upgrade their cars. Appliance subsidies have also grown and now cover more products and more items per household. Local governments are joining in too. Cities like Shanghai are distributing vouchers through apps like Alipay and WeChat for things like restaurants, entertainment, and travel. Other regions are offering incentives for home upgrades and online shopping. These regional efforts help tailor the strategy to local economic conditions. But short-term spending isn't enough. People need to feel financially secure over the long run if they're going to spend more and save less. So, the government is also working to strengthen the social safety net. China is working toward a nationwide childcare subsidy system and expanding insurance coverage for flexible and migrant workers. Additional support includes improving parental leave, increasing access to community childcare, and encouraging employers to offer family-friendly policies. For China's aging population, pensions and healthcare benefits are being raised, especially for retirees in rural areas. The idea is simple. If people aren't worried about huge costs later in life, they're more likely to open their wallets now. Another key part of boosting consumption is helping people feel wealthier. This is known as the wealth effect. So, the government is trying to stabilize both the real estate and stock markets. In the stock market, they're encouraging long-term institutional investment and reducing barriers to entry. In real estate, policies include lowering mortgage rates, loosening restrictions on home purchases, and helping property developers get financing, all aimed at turning around a housing slump that's been dragging down consumer confidence. On top of all that, China is promoting sectors with big growth potential. Domestic tourism is getting a boost through easier travel policies. Winter tourism spots are being developed. And there's heavy investment in emerging tech like autonomous vehicles, smart wearables, robotics, and AI products. So all in all, what we're seeing is a massive transformation in how China approaches consumption. There's a mix of short-term boosts like subsidies and long-term reforms in income, social welfare, and market structure. The goal is to build an economy that's more balanced, less dependent on exports, and driven more by the spending power of its own people. But here's the thing, changing deep-rooted saving habits isn't easy. Yes, there's been progress. The share of consumption in China's GDP has risen slightly over the past decade, but it's still low compared to most major economies. So why is that? Why is it so hard to change? Well, despite all these efforts, a few big challenges remain. The property market is still shaky. Economic uncertainty is high. Wealth distribution is uneven. China's population is aging fast. And its financial markets are still going through reforms. Even with strong policies in place, these deeper issues are holding back progress. In short, you can hand out vouchers and subsidies, but if people are worried about healthcare, education, or retirement, they're still going to save instead of spend. To truly shift to a consumption-driven economy, China needs more than just policy. It needs public trust and long-term security. That means bold reforms in income distribution, stronger social safety nets, and a stable environment for long-term wealth growth. Only then will Chinese households feel confident enough to spend more freely. Now, what do you think? Can China really become a consumer-driven economy? Let me know in the comments. And if you're into content like this, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos.